Welcome, everybody, to Buying Local. I'm your host, Matt Knoth from Five Tower Media. And today we have a wonderful guest, Dan Wade. Welcome, Dan.
Hey, you're welcome. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for coming on. Just before we, get into our conversation, why don't you tell the viewers a little bit about who you are and, maybe something exciting that you're working on right
Sure.
there.
So my name is Dan Wade. I'm an attorney with Ianniello Anderson, and we are primarily a real estate law firm that has four offices from Glens Falls all the way down to Albany. So we make it very convenient for our clients to close. Some recent stuff that's been happening is, I've been working on scheduling a vacation for later this summer to go to Alaska with my family. So we're looking forward to that a lot, doing some dog sledding and some train riding. So it's going to be a lot of fun. We're looking forward to it. My son's getting ready to go into the lacrosse season. So we're excited about that. And we also just found out that his robotics team qualified for the New York State finals. So they'll be competing in that coming up in a couple of weeks. So we have just a few things going on.
Yeah. sounds like you got a lot on your plate. That's awesome though. It sounds like a lot of fun stuff. I mean,
Yeah,
as you know me, I'm a big lacrosse head too, so I love that lacrosse season's, here.
sure. Yeah. So which position did you play?
I played defense, so I had
Okay.
to.
Yeah, he plays midi, so you'd be going against each other.
Yep,
No,
yeah.
nice.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah, so you touched on a little bit of your law. Could you just explain? I know you kind of cover real estate law,
Right.
title law. Could you, yeah, just explain kind of all the areas that your practice deals with?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So what happens if somebody's selling a house or buying a house? They're going to meet with a real estate agent and they're going to end up signing a contract. And then within those contracts, built in are provisions for attorneys to review those and sort of guide the clients through the process. And that's kind of partly where I come in, is I'll review the contract, I'll draft an approval letter that goes along with it, and I'll discuss those items with the client so that they understand what they're getting into, what's expected of them, and just sort of set everyone's expectations so that everyone understands is on the same page as how the transaction is going to go. As part of that, we're also going to handle ordering any kind of title search that's needed to review the chain of title and any liens that are against the property, open taxes, things like that, to just make sure that everything is taken care of and that the title that the client receives at the closing is a good title that they would be able to sell if they needed to sell the property in the future. So yeah, just things like that. And if inspections go a certain way and they need to request any kind of repairs or credits, that's something that we'll help negotiate on their behalf as well. We also prepare final figures and documents and attend the closing on the client's behalf.
Love it. Yeah, I just want to preface, I mean, I've had the chance to actually we just had our last podcast was on Gold Star and the referral group and the networking aspect of that. So I've actually had the chance. Dan's also a great gentleman, superb networker. Also can be found in the Gold Star referral groups. But the one thing that I really notice about you is that you really take the time to educate your, I guess, clients. Why do you feel that's kind of separates you with that educational piece?
Sure. I think it's important because I just think it's good that people know and understand fully what the process is going to entail. And part of that is, better information for clients, then you end up having better clients.
Mm,
And if those clients had a good experience, then, from the networking side, hopefully they speak with other potential clients who then could come my way. And it's also about, like I said, setting expectations and managing people's emotions so that they know what to expect and when to expect it. For some of the clients that I work with and some of the agent partners that I work with, I have prepared a very colorful flow chart that shows how the real estate process is supposed to go. And that helps the clients out a lot because then they know when to expect certain things to happen. And also when they're asking questions, they want to make sure that they didn't miss a step or that they haven't missed an opportunity to ask a question or to take advantage of an opportunity that might be important to them.
hmm. So you touched on the emotion piece. How much of your day to day is kind of you seeing yourself stepping away from that lawyer stuff and more kind of being a shoulder to cry on. Does that happen often?
Yeah, I mean, it does happen as part of the job, right? So, I mean, for me, like I'm an empathetic person, so I care about the people that I work with, and I care about the clients that I represent, and I want them to have a good experience. I want their lives to go well. I want everyone that I work with or come into contact with, I want them to be successful. So I just want to help put everyone in that best position as possible. Yeah, and sometimes that takes, you get to learn a lot about clients a lot of times, and you learn about their whys, like why are they doing what they're doing. And everybody has their different reasons. One of the things that I really love about this job is that you come into people's lives with all different chapters that they're going through. And people have many different chapters throughout their life. Some people are expanding their family because they're getting ready to have a family, and so maybe now they need to have more space for children that are going to be coming along. For other people, it might be they've gotten older and their kids have graduated college and are about to go out on their own. And now people don't need as much space. So maybe now they're looking to sell and downsize or move and start to go in the different direction and different chapter of their life towards retirement. But all those chapters have meaning to people, and they're all important to people in their own way. And it's to connect with people and learn about that process and why they're doing what they're doing. And you get a little glimpse into their life and they get a little glimpse into mine. And it's really kind of a fun experience.
Yeah, that's great. You said that you were an empathetic person, and me knowing you personally, I could definitely attest to that. But starting out, was this your calling? Did you always know you wanted to be doing this stuff? Is this, you know, yeah.
Yeah, actually, no. My first choice of career was going to be veterinarian.
Hmm.
That's what I thought I was going to be. Until one day I was called out to hold the lead line of a horse that had gotten injured, and I start to wobble like this a little bit. And
Yeah.
so I'm like, well, I don't know if veterinarian's going to be in the cards for me.
Yeah.
Um, and that was right around my senior year in high school. And I was fortunate enough that I had an open period, and so I took a business law class in high school, which proved to sort of kind of spark that next thing that I wanted to do, and I enjoyed it. I really liked it. Sometimes I would debate with the teacher about some of his questions and the wording of his questions, and so I'm like, okay, I think this lawyering thing might be the thing I want to do.
Yeah. Oh, that's
But
awesome.
yeah, but doing real estate, so then even beyond that, going to law school, you can in theory have a concentration. Not everybody does. So oftentimes when you go to law school, you're like, okay, I'm not 100% sure what area of law I want to fall into, but eventually real estate sort of, caught my eye and became something that I really wanted to do.
Awesome. So could you just explain a little bit of how you connected with this current role you're in now?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my previous job, so out of law school, I took a job in the southern part of the state. And as part of that job, I did a lot of work representing banks in collections and bankruptcy and landlord tenant work, but also did a lot of work with them in closings and title review. So,
Mm.
reviewing of title reports. So, and learning why title and the way that it's written is important. And so then when it became time, after a few years of doing that, we decided to move back up to this area, which is closer to where I grew up. I grew up outside of Schuylerville, and now I live outside of Queensbury. And it was an easy move to move back, but when I got a chance to move back, I said, why don't I shift my career a little bit and use what I know about title, use what I know about wanting to connect with people and be part of the community, and helping people buy and sell homes seemed like the perfect fit to do that. Because I could review the title work, I could make sure that the transaction goes the way it's supposed to go, and hopefully give clients a good experience and represent them well.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love hearing kind of how people start and where they end up. Me being 22, I'm just starting out my career, so you know, the light at the end of the tunnel is, only getting brighter. So, Just taking a step back, getting back into like the actual real estate. What because again, I don't own a home just yet, but
You
when I
will one
do,
day, though. I know you
and
will.
yep, and you're gonna be exactly the person I'm calling up. But what's the biggest mistake you see with first home time buyers?
Yeah. So right now, when 2020 happened and the world shut down the way that it did, and real estate really did the opposite of what a lot of people thought was going to happen during that time period, and the real estate market just took off, right? So little supply, lots and lots of demand. So buyers had to take steps to make their offers sort of stand out from other people's offers. And some of the ways that buyers would do that during that time period is they would agree to waive inspections
Mhm.
of a property. And, with my attorney hat on, that always makes us a little cautious and a little nervous because unless you're licensed in that area and really have a good education and a good working knowledge as to everything that goes into a home and all its systems, a
Mhm.
licensed inspector is really a vital piece of the real estate buying and selling process. Because again, it gives you more of that information as to what the home really looks like, how it
Mhm.
functions, what if anything doesn't function, what if anything might need to be, repaired immediately, and what might need to be repaired at some point in the future. So a lot of people were going into that process a little bit unknown during that time period, and so that's one of the things that I see that makes me sort of like cringe a little bit is when I see instances where people have had to waive inspections. Now, I know and I understand that there are reasons and there's time and place for why they may happen. And of course, I'm going to still represent my clients to the best of my ability. But it does take one of the things away that we have to get that additional chance to educate the clients and work with them.
Awesome. Could you explain a little bit of, I guess, the practical ways of the do's of what to do during that home buyer process?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So there are like several things that you see like either on the seller side or the buyer side where there's like here's like some things that you probably shouldn't do or and that happens really on both sides. For a lot of the sellers, like it's particularly in the winter time, like now,
Mhm.
it's I saw it a couple of times this winter where the sellers they signed a contract. Maybe they moved out of town. Maybe they already live out of town. And I'm not really 100% sure why, but they turned the utilities off to the property at the beginning of the process. So now you have a property that's sitting, in the winter in upstate New York, which is not never a good recipe, right?
Mm-mm.
Which you haven't owned a host yet, but I'm pretty sure you probably know what happens to water when it freezes. Those pipes can burst,
Oh
and
yeah.
if those pipes burst, it can cause a lot of damage in a home. Water is probably one of the bigger things that can cause a lot of damage to the home. So one things to not do for a seller is don't turn off the utilities. What should happen is right before the closing happens, a buyer is going to reach out to the utility company and they're going to ask for the utilities to be transferred over into their name so that
Mm.
the buyer will just take over the use of the utilities and also the cost of the utilities. So there's no need for the seller to reach out necessarily and have the utilities turned off. Um, Sort of tangentially with that, you don't want to have a seller turning the heat off or
Mhm.
turning the heat so low that you risk a situation where the pipes could freeze as well. So just that's something that a seller should try to avoid as well. Um,
Yeah. If you don't mind me, just interrupting, what would be the recommended temperature, the lowest, if you were to leave your home? Do you have a number?
well, it kind of depends on how your home is set up, right?
Oh, okay.
And if you do you have a basement, do you have a crawl space, do you not have any of those things? Um, because I think people have like their Nest thermostats and they have their other thermostats, right? So you want to keep it at a level where you make sure that wherever the pipes are located, that they're not getting near that freezing temperature. Another thing that I have seen people do from time to time, like people who are renting apartments, or maybe you have a house where the pipes are under the house, but you don't have necessarily have really good insulation under there, or you don't have a basement with any kind of heat source to that area. If it's always a good idea that to insulate the pipes if you can. There's also heat tape that people can use to put on pipes. But another trick that you can do is, you can trickle, you can trickle the faucet so that
Mm,
the water is moving. So if
yep.
the water is moving, then it can't freeze. So I've heard of people doing that as well, in areas where they don't have those other abilities to keep the water warm enough.
Great. Yeah. Good to know. Thank
Especially
you.
like those, like it's that those really older houses that
Yeah.
that don't have the same kind of insulation type situations.
Yeah. Good to know. Um, let's jump to the opposite side of that
Yeah.
question then.
So things like on the buyer side, and a lot of these, you don't want to jeopardize any kind of funding situation
Mm,
with your loan if you're taking a mortgage. So you don't want to like change jobs in the middle of a transaction if you can help it. Likewise, you don't want to change your marital status, because that creates new legal rights and obligations and things like that. So, there are people who they're getting engaged and they want to buy their first home together. So just sort of keep that timing in mind, that you either want to buy the house before your wedding or you wait
mm,
until after your wedding to buy the house. But try not to schedule your wedding in the middle of your real estate transaction. Number one, that sounds extremely stressful and I wouldn't
yep.
recommend it. But number two, there's also legal rights and obligations that pop up in there that could change in the middle of the transaction and could potentially slow things down for a second with your lender if you can help it. All right. Some of the things that also the things we see with buyers is after the closing, your deed gets recorded, and when your deed gets recorded, it becomes a public document, meaning
Mm,
it's on public record at the county clerk's office. There are companies out there that watch for deeds to get recorded. And when they get recorded, these companies send these new homeowners these very official looking, very scary letters that make it sound like something terrible happened and that they need to urgently have a certified copy of your deed in order to prove you have ownership of the property. And these companies will offer to provide that service and also provide a property profile assessment for a very inflated cost of, I've seen anything from like 85 to almost $200. And what's crazy is that, a certified copy of a deed, essentially the county clerk is doing is they're comparing the original versus a copy, and they put a raised seal on the copy. That's really all a certified copy is. Most county clerks will do that service for $5 or $10. So you don't need to pay $200, number one. Number two, you shouldn't need to pay any more money for copies of your deed. The deed's going to be on public record with the county clerk, number one. Number two, your attorney's office will be more than happy to email you a copy of your deed that they have on file as well. Um,
great.
so, other things for a buyer when you're getting close to a closing, it's really good idea that whatever bank you use to house your money, that you have that bank somewhat in the general vicinity of where the closing is going to take place. And that's, for the most part, because you're going to need that money for the closing. So you want to be able to make sure that you can get that money drawn on a relatively quick basis if needed. People like to use wires, and wires can be used from time to time, but wires are also inherently risky. There are unfortunately there are bad people out there, and there are bad people who will try to infiltrate different systems and different real estate companies. And if they are, a scary situation could be, I send you in an email wiring instructions, or maybe payoff instructions to send a wire to. You don't think nothing of it. You just go ahead and send that wire out. But little do you know is that somebody has intercepted my email, did a quick Photoshop, now put their wiring information in the letter where my information was, and now you're sending money to who knows where, right? So best
Mm,
practices are, yeah, maybe we'll send you wiring instructions, but then we do require that you call and speak with a human from a
mm,
trusted phone number that you have for us or for anybody that is asking you to wire. so that you have that verbal confirmation as well, and you had an additional layer of security for protecting your money.
Hmm. Yeah.
So
Wow.
yeah. This time of year, we're in the middle of February right now as we record this.
Mhm.
And so a good thing for home buyers to know or homeowners to know is in New York State, if the property is your primary residence and you meet certain other requirements and criteria, you can register your property for free with the New York State Department of Tax for the New York State STAR program. And that STAR program, what that does is when your school taxes get paid, you'll get a rebate check back, usually within a month. For me, it's like a couple $100 that
Yeah.
comes in October. It's like money that you forget about, but it's a nice little perk that New York State gives to homeowners who are using a property as your primary residence. Now you can only register one property because you can't have more
Mm.
than one primary residence. But if you have a primary residence in New York State, something to look into. Go onto the website, see if your property's already been registered. If not, then go ahead and register it. It's free.
Huh. And are there any like qualifications? Do you need like income to qualify for that? Or
Yeah, the biggest one is you have to not you have to make less than $500,000 per year, which for me is no problem at all. Well under that.
yeah.
Maybe someday that'll change. Who knows?
Yep.
But yeah, that's the primary thing, and it just has to be your primary residence.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I just had I know we're getting
Yeah.
close to closing time, but just a couple more questions. I know we're in the North Country. Is there in I was just wondering because I know a lot of people with camps and the Adirondacks being in their backyard practically.
Sure.
Do the camps or what do they call them, seasonal homes? Do those bring up any unique legal challenges compared to a residential home or?
Oh, well, so from a real estate, it depends. I guess part of it depends. Like,
Hmm.
do they exist and near or touching any water?
Hmm.
Are there any docks in the property? Because you have boating rights and dock slips and things like that to come into play. Um, is it part of the Adirondack Park? So it
Hmm.
would be come under the Adirondack Park Agency and various rules and things there. A lot of things with the camps is just people want to make sure that they do their due diligence and have them inspected. Not a lot of camps are hooked up to any kind of town water or town sewer,
Hmm.
right? So they have their own independent well and they have their independent septic. So you want to make sure that if you're having inspections done, that you have the water quality test done and you have the septic tested as well. If the property's up near Lake George, that septic's got to be inspected anyway. That's part of Bolton's town ordinances now. So yeah, things like that, and just be mindful of different structures, how they're different, right? Also, if you have an insurance guy, they might be insured a little bit differently, because it's not going to be occupied full time. So there might be
Sure.
other things that you can do there with your insurance guy. Talk to them about that. A lot of camps don't have basements, so you have different things like that. You want to make sure that property is properly winterized, of
Mm.
course, for all the things we talked about at the beginning with any kind of burst pipe situations. You want to avoid that if possible. So, yeah, so those are just like a few of the things that are a little bit different from maybe a residential home in downtown Glens Falls.
Great. And Dan, thanks again for coming on. I know we're getting short on time, but if people were looking to learn more about you, learn a little bit more about you, or even get in contact with you, where can they find you and get a hold of you?
Sure, a couple different places. One, they could go to the website of the firm that I work for. The firm again is Ianniello Anderson PC, and the website is www.ialawny.com. So that's ialawny.com. Or they can reach out to us by phone, and that's 518-371-8888.
Great. Awesome. And thanks again, Dan. But yeah, to everybody else who's listening, thank you. I really enjoyed this conversation, Dan. I know I know there's people out there just like me, getting ready to buy their first home. So this was very informational. So thank you. And
Thanks
yeah,
again, Matt, for having me. I appreciate it.
yeah, thank you. And yeah, just thanks to everybody else listening. You can find us at buyinglocal.us. We're going to be on Spotify, Apple, Rumble, and YouTube. And yeah, thanks for listening, and we'll hear from us next week. Thank you.
Yeah, and when you're ready, I'll be ready.